Board members, we can get you to take your seats. We have a quorum. Uh, Good morning. Welcome to State Board of Education. We're starting an hour early and we have a big agenda today. Appreciate everyone being here. Want to welcome those that are online also. Our agenda is a little bit different than what we had in the past to kind of accommodate the heavy lifting that we have this day. So I appreciate your patience there. On the safety side, on the emergency side, we have two doors here that will leave this room. You hit the hallway, you go right or left, leave the building. Restrooms are across from the doors. We want to welcome Utah Highway Patrol Trooper Chris Horrocks. He's around here someplace helping. There he is. Appreciate your service and helping us out today. So we're going to dive right into the agenda. First of all, we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance, and Member Norton, will you lead us in the pledge, please? Oh, stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Member Norton, for leading us in the pledge. Next, we're going to go to our board member message. Member Scott Hansen.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I have the privilege and the responsibility to give the board member message for my last board meeting as a member of the Utah State Board of Education. And I hope that you'll bear with me as I kind of take a walk down memory lane and reflect on the past 4 years. In preparing for this morning, I reread my 3 previous annual board member messages. Back in September of 2019, my message was titled Schools as Community Centers. And I said, in many ways, our sense of community seems to be disappearing. We don't visit on our porches or talk over our fences as much as we used to. Opinions seem to be more polarized. It's harder to find common ground. The list of subjects you shouldn't talk about at Thanksgiving dinner seems to be growing longer. The incredible methods we have to communicate sometimes have the effect of highlighting our differences instead of increasing our ability to come together. Seems like voices have gotten louder and more divisive. In the midst of all this, our schools play an increasingly important role in developing a sense of community. Schools are still places where everyone, students, parents, teachers, administrators, and neighbors, can come together to support and help one another. Parents serve in PTAs or on community councils, volunteer to read or help with the science fair, or speak on career day. In many ways, in many places, the Friday night high school basketball or football game is still the hot ticket in town. A sense of community is developed by spending time together, learning from one another, and coming to love and respect each other despite our differences. Our schools provide a place for this to happen. Then go forward another year to October of 2020. This was in the middle of COVID, and I talked about adversity. Told a story about a sailing trip where my wife and I were blown off the lake by a big storm, ended up camping in the mountains with our sailboat as our RV. I also described the difficult experiences of a first-year teacher and talked about how our educators were making the best of tough situations. A great educator, who I quoted then, Neil A. Maxwell, said, regarding trials, there are no exemptions, only variations. The great challenge is to refuse to let the bad things that happen to us do bad things to us. That is the crucial difference between adversity and tragedy. Then in November of 2021, my message had a sports theme. We watched some big football plays and talked about playing big by performing above our physical abilities and having a positive attitude. I said, I think it's easy for us to get caught up in the spirit of negativity that's becoming more and more pervasive in today's society. To be sure, there are some problems in Utah education, and I don't think we should just sweep those problems under the rug, but they shouldn't be our focus. We shouldn't dwell on them. We should acknowledge them, learn our lessons, make required changes so that problems aren't repeated, and move on. Our focus should be on recognizing and then replicating our successes, the big plays in education that change kids' lives. And to wrap things up, I read a quote by Gordon B. Hinckley, who said, what I am suggesting is that each of us turn from the negativism that permeates our society and look for the remarkable good among those with whom we associate, that we speak of one another's virtues more than we speak of one another's faults, that optimism replaced pessimism, that our faith exceeds our fears. When I was a young man and was prone to speak critically, my father would say, cynics do not contribute, skeptics do not create, and doubters do not achieve. I also reflected on some of the milestones of the past 4 years. The board developed the Portrait of a Graduate, which has become a touchstone for our educational efforts. There was increased unity in our legislative asks from the education community. We saw record increases in education funding from the legislature. There's still more to be done, but we're headed in the right direction. We battled through the unprecedented challenges of COVID with learning losses that we're still trying to recover from, and a large influx of funding that was administered impeccably by our staff. We experienced rising concerns about school safety and our children's mental health. We took steps to address them. The board made difficult decisions and took tough measures to ensure accountability for education funds. The board unanimously adopted a landmark resolution denouncing racism and embracing equity, which ends with the phrase, "We are better when we're together." We responded to the uproar surrounding critical race theory with a sensible approach and guidelines for teachers outlined in our Educational Equity in Schools Rule, R277328, which reinforces that the best antidote for critical race theory is to teach critical thinking. As a final step of this process of remembering, I asked myself, what lessons did I learn from 4 years on the state school board? First and foremost, I learned that there are a lot of good people in Utah who are concerned about education. They're doing their best to make it happen in the best way possible. Students, teachers, administrators, school staff, lunch workers, bus drivers, playground monitors, crossing guards, parents, local school and charter board members, legislators, state superintendent and her staff, and state board members, people who took the time to make public comment, attend meetings, and participate in surveys, or just call or email. On the whole, these people are doing their best to help improve education in Utah and make all our kids feel they're welcome and can succeed. I'm grateful for my association with the education community. With all of you, I honor and thank you for your contributions. Second, I feel that increased politicization of education has not improved education. I was elected in 2018 and joined the board in 2019 as part of the last group of nonpartisan state school board members. One of the best compliments that I received was when a fellow board member, after years of serving together, asked which party I would be affiliated with in the upcoming partisan election. The spirit of camaraderie and cooperation, and I would say the effectiveness of this body, has declined as board members have become increasingly more influenced by political parties, special interest groups, or specific ideologies. I believe that service on the board is public service. We come here to serve all the public, those who voted for us, those who voted for the other candidate, and those who didn't or couldn't vote at all. I consider being elected as a mandate for board members to consider all viewpoints, use their best judgment to make informed decisions in the best interest of Utah kids. I found that the loudest voices are rarely 100% correct. Sometimes those whose views need the most consideration have no voice at all. Polarization is not productive. The best solutions are generally found in the middle ground. Third, the board does its best work when we focus on serving the best interests of and creating conditions for the success of all students. We serve the students. We take them as they come. We provide them with opportunities, tools, and assistance to succeed. We can't avoid discussions of equity because it's fundamental to what we do. We need to support each child by giving them the resources they need to learn and succeed to the best of their capacity. Any parent who has more than one child knows that each child is unique and needs different supports and motivation. Equity is about equal opportunities to learn, not dumbing down instruction to provide equal outcomes. It's easy to cater to the mainstream majority of students, but it's critically important to think about the kids on the margins who require special attention and creative assistance. That includes students of all abilities and demographics, those with intact families and involved parents, those from single parent households, non-English speaking households, or households struggling with poverty or addiction. Like Thomas Jefferson, I believe that working to educate all of our children is the best thing we can do to solve society's problems and help secure the future of this great nation. Fourth and finally, civility is paramount to effectively doing the work of the board. There's a nationwide trend toward a lack of civility and respectful behavior. Kids learn by example, and especially in education, all adults involved should model the behaviors in the portrait of a graduate, such as communication, critical thinking, and problem solving, creativity and innovation, collaboration and teamwork, honesty, integrity and responsibility, hard work and resilience, lifelong learning and personal growth, service and respect. I believe that we should show respect for our educators and build up and improve the public education system, not tear it down or undermine trust in it. Judge Thomas Griffith said that the Constitution of the United States should be a uniting force. He said that it's a good thing that we argue. It's a good thing that we have views. What was really unique about the creation of the United States of America was that the founders of our Constitution decided that they wanted to have a different type of government based on what we, the people, decided through their elected representatives. The fundamental idea is that we, the people, would decide the rules by which society would be governed. When the framers created this system of government, they actually required we, the people, to be informed, to have ideas, to discuss the laws that would create the best society. So we have a government in which we're encouraged to think, to study, and to debate. Here's the problem. If people lose sight of the grand project of the Constitution, which is not just to create a country where we have the freedom to debate, but it's also to create, remember the words of the preamble, a more perfect union. That means when you've got a country as large as ours with as many viewpoints as exist, if you want to create a union, you need to not only develop the skills of argument, you need to develop the skills of listening, because the idea is that through arguing with one another, we may learn things that will get us to a better place. Out of the clash of ideas will emerge better ideas, but that doesn't happen unless I'm willing to learn from you and you're willing to learn from me. And so the Constitution requires a citizenry that's willing to compromise. And the only way, as far as I can tell, that you can be willing to compromise is if you develop some humility on your own part and some respect for those with whom you disagree. I'm grateful for the opportunity that I've had to work with all of you and with the people of this great state on behalf of our children. Thanks for allowing me the time this morning to reminisce. I wish the board, staff, and the education community good luck, and I pray for your success in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Hanson, for the board member message. Next on our agenda is usually our public comment. Because of the way and the way our agenda is working today, we're receiving those in writing. Public comments are received at publiccomment@schools.utah.gov, and we appreciate all those that will be submitting written comments.